This is Sheets, and I'm going to be inviting Bobby in a sec. And we'll get Rody in there too, and then we'll fire this up. Bobby. All right, I sent to both. Okay. Okay. What's going on, K9? What's up, Brody?
Yo, what up?
What's going on? Just waiting for Bobby. We had some semi-technical difficulties.
Nice.
No sweat. Let's wait for Bobby to come in. Yeah, he couldn't log in, so I'm starting it up.
Yeah, he was messaging me. He told me about it. Yeah.
No problem.
What's going on with my computer?
Let me just show him. You have any take on what they're going to do with Samuel today?
Curtis Samuel? Oh, man, that's a tough one. I don't know. I've always liked that guy, though, so. I don't know. I'm probably lower on him in single entry builds, but.
Where are you on Mike Davis?
Probably a shitload. It's my only problem.
I get it.
I don't know. I still got a lot of work to do, Sheets. To be honest,
yeah. I'm with you. I'm leaving in like 45 minutes. I'm going to the city. I'm gonna miss like most of the games. But hopefully someone's deep. But what's interesting about today is that that Dallas game, which is going to garner like a lot of the ownership and probably a lot of the fantasy points, is coming from the early game. So it's going to be a little different dynamic than it's been the last couple of weeks.
For sure.
Oh, there's Bobby. Okay. See, we overcome the technical difficulties. It's not a problem at all.
We're in the technical difficulties and all. What's up, Brody? What's up, Chiefs?
I'll ask you the same thing I just asked Brody. What is your take, if any, on Curtis Samuel today?
I have some interest because I need a little value. I don't like it that much, to be honest. I prefer the Westbrook. If you're going to go down, I think Osborne is off the board, but I actually could see it going his way, especially because the main corners in Cleveland are a little better than the backside of it. So the third receiver could have some options there. And I think Chester Rogers is in play just because Tennessee's going to have to, like one of he or Westbrook, they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit. So I'm using that for some value. And even if they get me 10 or 12 points, I don't think there's any reason that's going to kill your lineup. But I'm trying not to do it as much as I ended up doing it. The problem is I want to play Kelsey. I really want to play the Chiefs, and that's going to make it really, really hard, and I'm going to need a little bit of value. So I am actually mixing in some Pringle and some because of that, I'm mixing in some Pringle, and I'm mixing in some McCall Hardman as well.
And just to catch you up, the other question I asked Rody, I'll bring it to you the same way. Where are you with Mike Davis today?
Very low, but I have him on FanDuel because the price gap is very different over there.
Got it.
Very little on him. I love that whole tier of running backs. I think Trey Sermon's a better play than he is. I mean, he's basically getting a half share. I mean, a little more than half the carries for Atlanta, Mike Davis. And I would rather play Sermon under the same speculation, but in a better spot. So I have a little bit of Davis, but it's very, very little on DraftKings, and I have him on FanDuel. I even think with the Trey Sermon, with the information in there, Sermon and Gibson, along with like Najee Harris, David Montgomery, Chuba Hubbard, those are the guys who I'm using the most as my running backs.
The other thing to I watched your guys' your video, and this is I wanted to piggyback off of your take. So, you guys, I think both of you at some point mentioned the possibility of San Francisco and the Seattle thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that idea of Brandon Ayuk as you guys brought up as an off the board. I don't know how off the board, but it definitely more off the board than Deebo Samuel play. And I think that also you know there's certainly issues with playing Garoppolo just because.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Well, no, but forget that. I mean, once you get down to the goal line, you got Lance that's going to come in and like take some, you know, some Taysom Hill snaps, right? So, but I think you could play the San Francisco Seattles without using Garoppolo, right? You could just play those receivers.
Yep.
And you know, obviously you could play the other side. You play the Russell Wilson side of it as well. But, so I guess I'll just kind of host. So where are you? Let's start with you, Rhodey. Where are you at with? And we're going to talk about like the Millie Maker type builds, you know what I mean? Like where are you at with the Millie Maker with respect to ownership? Not even ownership, but what are your takes with respect to certain games? Like what games are you the highest on?
Yeah, I'm highest on like the Seattle, the Arizona game, and mostly the Mahomes a lot. I'm getting a lot of him. So mostly those three games, and I'm lower on Dallas and Carolina game. I think more than the field is going to be. So I'm pretty heavy on those three games.
What about you, Bobby?
Similar. I'm highest on KC by a long shot. When these weeks come where it feels like there's a lot of, you know, volatility up in the air, I think that you want to try to get some exposure to the most obvious offense or spread it out some other things. I do in one of my big lineups even have your Heineke thing. But I like that game in general. I don't know that you need to use Heineke, but I mean, there's so many plays in that game that I like quite a bit with the bad secondary in Washington, with Atlanta's defense just being terrible. We know how they bleed to running backs, especially pass catching backs historically. So I'm high on that game as, you know, to fill in around my Mahomes stacks. I have 35% of my stacks are Mahomes and the Chiefs. And then another 10% is Hurts on the other side. Running it back with Chiefs. So I'm going to end up around 40% on Kelsey. I'm going to end up around 20 some odd percent on Hill. But then I want to fill it in with those other pieces from those other spots.
Well, let me ask you guys ask you both the same question. Both of you seem to be somewhat underweight on the Dallas Carolina thing, and that's going to be probably the most popular stack that, you know, people are going to be going for. Are you guys under that because of projections, or you're under it because you want to be under, you know what I mean? Or do you have a particular take on that game? Like why are you guys not as thrilled about it, but are you not fading that game? Are you playing less of that in the field just because of ownership, or do you have other takes on that game?
For me, it has a lot to do with ownership.
Okay.
I do think that game could be really good. I mean, Dallas, we've seen how good their offense is. The only thing that might be a little bit different in my take on that game, why it might be a little bit lower on it, if there was just from a theory standpoint, a strategy standpoint, instead of the ownership, is that I actually think there's an argument that maybe both defenses are actually not that bad. They're actually pretty solid. I mean, Carolina's been really good, but they had a pretty soft schedule. So I'm sort of taking that and hoping that it sort of pays off for me.
What about you, Rhoda? I ask you this for a reason. I know you're more of a projections guy, and there's been a lot of talk throughout the Discord over the last week or so where you've been very, very helpful and, you know, patient, trying to explain to people, you know, how you construct and how you use, you know, ownership caps and different ways to get different, because, you know, when you're a projection based guy, you know, it's natural to kind of get drawn to the chalk in your first looks, right? So the way you have to get different is to kind of be somewhat creative about it. So being a projection guy, for example, like how did you get to less of Dallas? Did you force less of Dallas? Did you set ownership caps? Like how did you get less than Dallas?
So yeah, I use the optimizer, obviously. So like using the optimizer, I just take less of them. I cap Dak. I am in almost X them out, really.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm just kind of capping those guys, and then it's when I'm building my lineups and going through, I'm kind of capping, like, you know, Hubbard, I got him capped a little bit, and then like all the receivers I got capped, you know. So I'm just kind of capping those guys. But I'm kind of using them a little bit. Like I'm not like totally off some of them because I still like Zeke a little bit more. I think he's going to get a little ownership. I've always been on Zeke. So I don't really I'm going to get a little bit of him. And I don't mind like Terrence Marshall a little lower owned and Robbie Anderson. So it's not like I'm off of the game. I'm just off of more of the stacks of the game. And I'm kind of doing some of these other pieces to get a little different, I think.
Well, let me throw something out there as well. So, the guy that's going to just pop in just every optimizer or whatever is DJ Moore, right? So you mentioned a name that makes a lot of sense in Robbie Anderson, as being one of some decent pivots off of that. And look, depending on how you believe, I mean, Dallas does have at least one good corner that what is it? Who is he? Diggs, something like that. So somebody's pretty good. So if you believe, the way we used to think about these things like the last couple of years, that if they're going to focus Diggs on Moore, maybe you go for one of the secondary receivers, especially in an environment where projection models and ownership is just going to just draw everybody to DJ Moore. So I mean, I think you both must have mentioned. I think at least one of you, I think both of you might have mentioned Robbie Anderson in your video, and you guys like that play at all? It's just kind of a way to use that game without getting too different. I mean, without getting too chalky.
Yeah, I like that play a lot. Really like the Robbie Anderson idea. I do have one of my big lineups with that stack, and it's got CD, Cooper, Prescott, Hubbard, and Robbie Anderson.
Let me bring up another game. I'm only going through this game so extensively because it's the most popular game. There's another play I want to talk about that people are going to play a lot of, and that's going to be Dalton Schultz from the Cowboys side. And they saw they saw that he had a really, really good game. Was it Thursday night, Monday night? I forget what it was. Monday night. Obviously, wouldn't play Thursday, but like on Monday night. And I mean, I get it, and because he had a good game, he's going to show up in some sims. He's going to show up in some projection models and things like that. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't too long ago that Blake Jarwin was supposed to be the play. You know what I mean? And Dalton Schultz was like the low-owned guy that got there in the showdown slate. I just, I think they're both on the field. This is not my area of expertise, but from what I've heard, they're both on the field, basically the same number of snaps and routes. And if everybody's going to pile on to Dalton Schultz, maybe like another way to play that game without being on top of the field like that is to maybe play Blake Jarwin. You guys like that at all?
No interest in that for me.
Okay.
I think I don't have that much interest in Schultz either.
Okay.
I just think that, sure that it can be spread. It's Dallas passing game. They've got a million options, they could do a lot of different things. So I'm not that dialed into to that myself. I'd rather play Ingram at 400 less than Schultz. And I'd rather I'd rather play Disley at 800 less than Schultz.
I've heard a little bit about that. I'm getting to a little bit of Disley myself. I think that's a good time to talk more about that Seattle game, which I kind of brought up. Where are you as far as ownership in that game? And we could talk about that game a little bit, Bobby.
Which game was that? I'm sorry, I lost
the Seattle game.
The Seattle game. So I think that I love the Ayuk idea. I'm still only getting like 12% of it because there's a lot of guys I like today. But I think it's a good play. I might try and get it up to closer to 20. I like Kittle in that game. Even the fear of him being limited and stuff will keep his ownership low. Massive ceiling, and is a good pivot off Kelsey because he could end up in a similar scoring range. And there's not a whole lot of tight ends. I could say that Hawkinson. You could say that about as well. I like Metcalf a lot there's so much football. For the Seattle side of it, I like Metcalf. I'm preferring to go that route. I'm not playing much Carson, and I am playing a lot of Trey Sermon.
What about you? How much of that Seattle game do you have a lot of interest in that Seattle game, Rody, or just?
Yeah, that's probably one of my higher games. I got some Russell stacks. I like DK a lot today. Disley, pretty high exposure too for tight end. It's pretty cheap on DK. So yeah, I'm getting to that quite a bit. Sermon's popping a lot now on FanDuel as running back as well. And I like Brandon Ayuk. You mentioned Sheets earlier. I like that play as well. A little different there. I think he's going to have a big game. And there's Kittle at tight end. I think he's poised to have a big game. Could have a big game.
And here's another thing that I've noticed. When I'm really on top of where ownership's going to be, because again, being a projection based guy, whatever. Even when I adjust for ownership, I see where I'm getting. So if I'm getting it, that's what most people are getting. What's really interesting, and one way to be like kind of sneaky different is this. So what in most of my builds and most of my runs, whatever it is, I'm getting to an overwhelming amount of these cheap defenses. Okay. And that being teams like the Lions, the Falcons, those I bring up in particular, because I mean the fact of the matter is that both of those teams do not have quote unquote good defenses, right? And the thing is that because they're cheap, they're showing up in a lot of runs because let's face it, I mean you want to get some of these good position players. But I wonder if it's not the best idea, if it's not such a great idea to play so much of those, and it may be kind of a sneaky way to just to screw around with your optimizers is to cap like some of those defenses, and see where you roll. And what I did, like for example, I ended up not doing this, but just for fun, what I did was I wanted to see what certain lineups looked like where I played Kamara and Henry together, because I talked about this the other day, with the Saints defense. Like, for example, this gets me off of that Lions stuff, off of that Tennessee stuff, off of that Falcon stuff. And the rest of the lineups, just became just a little bit different. How much, like, for example, like, I know, Bobby, you avoid this because you're more of a hand-built guy, so you might not get so much of it. How much, for example, I'll just throw a name at it. How much of the Lions defense, for example, do you have right now, both Rhodey and Bobby?
I have a lot.
Right. Right.
So I prefer the Lions of all the teams in that tier. I ended up where I really need the money. I have the Jets, you know what I mean? And I actually need the 200 sometimes, or, the difference. But I like the Lions the best. I think that there's an upside for them against a quarterback who, they really showed no inventiveness on offense. Now, I don't think the Lions are a particularly good defense, but, they did just hold down there was a lot of drops in that game, but they held down a Baltimore team that, is a pretty good offensive team. And you're playing a quarterback who's making his second start, who had like 40 yards passing, whatever his first start. I'm not worried. I like that one the best. The Falcons, I'm okay with taking a shot and hoping Heineke makes a mistake, but I would rather play the Lions. So mostly I'm finding myself actually just leaving the extra 100 in that case on the table and playing more of the Lions. And I do have a lot of the Jets as well. I understand, I love the strategy of what you're talking about, and I'll do that sometimes. I do like, it's weird though, because everybody likes New Orleans defense the best. I don't think that's the best defense today. I think that Buffalo is far and away the best defense. And I think that Tennessee would be the second defense that I would go after.
Fair enough. Just my point though is that
correlation
as an example, you know what I mean? Like these defenses are so freaking random with respect to their pick sixes and all this stuff that I just feel as though it's almost like playing a chalky cheap defense is almost fishy. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I mean, Bobby, not Bobby. Rhodey, where are you? You probably have a lot of Lions, Falcons, Tennessee, right?
Yeah, and some Jets, like he said. I got a lot of Jets probably and a lot of Lions. My optimizer's kicking me out a lot of Bills actually right now.
Oh, that's all right.
I like obviously on FanDuel. I mean, obviously it's gonna want them, but like I gotta figure, like you said, I like to try to maybe cap some more of them a little bit to try to get more of a range of defenses. I think just kind of mix it up.
Where are you guys as far as running back exposure on let's start with DraftKings.
So I got 23% Najee Harris, 25% Trey Sermon, 15% Edwards-Helaire, 20% Henry, 25% Gibson. I'm going to probably get into around 30 or 40% of Gibson. I really like Gibson. Chuba Hubbard, I've got almost 30% of. 10% of Darrell Henderson. I like to speculate on that one. And 10% of DeAndre Swift. I have like 5% of Kamara. I think it's a great spot. We've learned that there's so many vultures in that situation. Sure, he could break against the Giants and all that stuff, but I just think I'd rather take the way I'm playing is spending up a lot at receiver. I'm playing a lot of Devontae Adams. So I'm having to save money as my running back, which is what I told Rhodey I was going to do when we did our picks show. Because I want to play Cooper Kupp. I want to play I still want some exposure to that Dallas thing. I especially like CeeDee Lamb. I don't think he's going to be as high owned as the other guys. I want to pay up for and where I'm not using Adams. I want to have some lineups with Justin Jefferson, who's going to be really low owned, and I like as a sort of a not off the board, but he's going to be really low owned. And I'm playing a lot of Tyreek Hill, 25% Tyreek Hill and 40% Kelsey. So I kind of need to save, and I love my bold take of the day is that the Chiefs are going to score 50 points today. I really think they're going to go completely nuts.
Well, let me. You know what? I asked it in the wrong way because I'm the worst. What I meant to ask, and the way I'm going to ask it to Rhodey is a little different. With respect to running back, I'm going to ask you this way: which running backs are you taking more of a stand on, and which running backs are you fading more?
Well, I do like the fade or like not getting a lot of Kamara. I'm not getting a lot of Kamara. I'm kind of capping some of the chalkier running backs. I think I'm kind of actually getting a mix of them. I kind of don't want a ton of everyone. Like a little bit I like Gibson the most, like he said. I got some Elliott, Mike Davis. I'm getting a lot of, even CEH. I'm getting some. I kind of like that. I think Casey's going to score, and if it's not the passing side, maybe CH gets a little bit more on that. So I like going that way. I don't have a lot of Swift. I maybe should get some more of that. I wish I had a little bit more Sanders in that game. I like Devontae Smith as a run back in that game a little more. But I still think I'm getting a lot of Henry more on DK surprisingly than I am on FanDuel. It's kind of weird.
Well, let me
a lot more on FanDuel or DK.
Yeah.
Just to be different, I think.
So just so you know where I'm at, my big stand on running back is from the same game. I think I'm having zero. I'm just dying on this hill. I'm playing 0 Mike Davis, and I'm playing 17% Cordell Patterson.
I'm in the same range with Patterson as well.
Yeah, so that's just what I'm doing. The next thing, let's talk about some kind of like one-off wide receivers that don't come from stacks. Because I have one guy I'll bring up, which I'm getting over. I'll bring him up. So as far as receivers are not part of stacks, I'm getting a little bit of maybe he's going to be popular. I don't know. I'm getting 15 to 20% of some Corey Davis revenge.
I love Corey Davis today. I mean, I'm with you.
Okay.
I think if you want to talk about cheap upside receivers, he and Ayuk fit the same mold for me and are in good spots. Even though everybody thinks the Jets are terrible and all this, they are, but they're gonna try to fire the ball downfield. And Corey Davis should see 10 targets today. Sorry, go ahead.
Where are you as far as kind of one-offish type wide receivers, Rhodey? And do you look at it that way, or do you just if they're in my stacks, they're cool. If not, there's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, one-off wide receivers. Yeah, I don't really have it set like that. I mean, obviously I like Adams a lot. I don't know if he's going to get as big a run back. I know Harris is there. I like Deontay Johnson in that game for more of a stack. I like Aaron Jones, Deontay Johnson stack. But I don't know. I don't really have a lot of one-offs really. I mean, most of them stacked up today pretty good. I like Corey Davis, but he's stacked with Henry in some of those builds, so he's kind of that run back to keep that game going. So
you already mentioned this already, Bobby. You really want to get to a lot of Kelsey, and that certainly makes a lot of sense. And I already brought up Dalton Schultz as being someone who people are going to get to at tight end. As other guys at tight end that I'm getting to, I'm getting about on DraftKings, and I'm playing a decent amount of lineups on DraftKings Millie Maker this week. I'm getting a full 20% of Evan Ingram.
Yep. Higher than that even.
Where are you guys at tight end in general? And you Ingram? And I have 13% of Kittle. What's his name said. So where else and I got some sprinkles. I got sprinkles of all kinds of crap. I got some sprinkles of Conklin, some sprinkles of Gesicki, some sprinkles of Higbee. I probably should have more of that. Where are you guys at tight end if that's the way you look at it?
Go ahead, Rudy.
Yeah, I got a lot of Disley and Kelsey on DK more. I do have some Ingram. I don't really like the play, but I'm trying to get more right now as we speak, more Kittle, more Pitts, a lot less on Schultz. I really trying to get, I got him capped, but the optimizers are still trying to give me a little bit more of these guys on what I want for the caps. And I'm just trying to stay with the good ones. I think Kelsey guys, Kittle's guys you're going to want in your lineup. I really like Pitts. I think he's going to have a breakout game, trying to get exposure to him a little bit more. So I don't mind Logan Thomas in there either. Those are some good tight ends that I like today.
Let me, if you wouldn't mind, you guys are both playing on FanDuel, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let me go to FanDuel. Like, I'll ask you another because I'm a little different on FanDuel. Well, maybe not on FanDuel than I am on DraftKings. So I'll just tell you on FanDuel with respect to stats and stuff, I am just extraordinarily heavy on Kansas City on FanDuel, like more so than I am on DraftKings. And I got just a good amount of that. And as far as players go. Okay, there I'm actually playing some Mike Davis. Don't know why, but there I'm doing it. I guess I didn't feel like Xing out 150 lineups of Mike Davis over there. So there I have I don't know. I feel like I'm not taking much of a stand anyway. Oh, you know I'm taking kind of like an overweight position over there. This is interesting. I have 22% of Myles Gaskin from Miami over there. So that's my one difference over there. Where are you? Let's start with Bobby. Where are you at FanDuel? Specifically, I guess, like where you might be different than DraftKings, I guess.
I like Jonathan Taylor on both sites, but he sent running back that fits the FanDuel mold a little better. So I'm actually using some Jonathan Taylor. I like Nick Chubb as an off-the-board play, and I'm using him, again, another guy who tends to play better on the FanDuel because the PPR doesn't negate him. You know what I mean? There's also more room to get guys in. So that's what I'm doing over there. I still think that, again, I'm playing a lot of the KC stuff too, but I'm also playing more of the Bills over there. I understand there's some weather concerns in that game. We saw the same thing last week, and they just put up 7 million points. And I have some Rodgers to Adams stacks as well over on FanDuel and DraftKings, but mostly on FanDuel. I really like Corey Davis and Ayuk, as I mentioned, the same price on both sites. They're $5,700 on FanDuel. They're both $55,000 on DraftKings. I think you can start your lineups off playing those guys, and you're going to be just completely different already, I think.
What about you on FanDuel, Rody?
Yeah, I mean, some of the same stuff like you said right there. I got a lot of Mahomes, a lot of Kelsey on there. I'm pretty heavy on that game. I mean, that's top quarterbacks, Mahomes. I got a lot of Adams on over there. I really like Adams today. DK Metcalf. Don't forget about that Washington Ridley game, or Washington with Ridley and Pitts game. Terry McLaurin looks good over there too, a little bit more, just to get a little different. But yeah, so Logan Thomas, Kelsey, Pitts are my top 3 tight ends on FanDuel as well.
All right, let's see. Do we have any questions in here? So we have
Kamara's a bad fade. I understand it, by the way, that Kamara could be. It doesn't feel great, but it depends on the angle you're taking on these situations. And I personally can see Kamara having a monster game. It's just I prefer Henry with the usage that he's going to have. So I'm just siding with that way. But I do agree that Kamara could be dangerous. That's one of the comments in the chat.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, shoot. Sorry. No, what I was going to say is as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be leaving for the day, so I won't be around. So I just, for those of you who are interested, I just want to give you some some of my exposures on Yahoo in case anybody plays over there, and then a couple of afternoon slate nuggets, and then just before I forget, if you guys do play on Yahoo and it's still really strong over there, I don't really have anything really different. In other words, I'm still playing the Carolina, the Dallas. I mean, that it's pretty much the same stuff over there. I don't have anything that particularly stands out on at Yahoo over the other site. So I figured I'd throw that out there. And I'm also, just so you guys know, I'm going to play the afternoon slate because I feel as though, like, especially if that Dallas game busts, or it looks like it's going to bust, I think that the afternoon slate, people are going to pile like a lot in there, and like kind of tilt money might go in there. So I definitely want to take like a little bit better look at that. And there's a lot of funny things you could do in the afternoon slates. Like I don't know. I put my sheets up there. I do recommend that you guys play the afternoon slate. How about that? What else? Are you concerned, by the way? I'm going to, speaking of the afternoon slate, I mean, I know it's, matchup, whatever. Do you know this could be the first time that we've gone through an entire slate preview and the name Lamar Jackson has not shown up as anybody we want to play?
I have 5% Jackson.
Okay.
0. Unfortunately, I got 0.
Yeah.
I know.
It scares me though. It does.
Yeah.
Scare me.
Yeah. So I just so you know, I did play the afternoon slate, and Najee Harris would be it's kind of like my favorite. You have to like kind of really force yourself to not play 100% cup. So I'm probably going to do that. Probably going to force myself out of that. And I'm still not completely 100% convinced that it's the Cooper Cup show. I know that's stubborn, but I think Robert Woods is going to have a good game at some point.
He will, but it is. I mean, I absolutely agree that he will. But just as a Rams fan, it is kind of the Cooper Cup show.
It kind of is, right? But he's 2,500 more. You know,
no, it's a huge difference. Absolutely. I mean, I have a little bit more of the other way. I had to actually make sure to fit Cup into a couple lineups. I just am going to bring up a long shot name. Yeah. Maybe it's a reach to people, but I think Deshawn Jackson is a really interesting play.
Dude, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was doing, especially in the afternoon slate. I was I'm playing the big one over there, and I'm like, there's one spot to fill, and I was between Deshawn Jackson and somebody else, and I went with somebody else. Well, you know who I went with, by the way? I think I went with one of the Packers guys, either Randall Cobb or Lazard. I think it was one of those guys. But I'm thinking about Deshaun.
Yeah, Deshaun Jackson and KJ Osborne, along with Callaway, who's a little bit more expensive, and Marshall from Carolina. Those are the guys who I think I'll have upside to potentially, just you could break with one play. So I like all of those guys in that weird price tier. So I'm sort of mixing and matching those guys. But I did just force Deshaun Jackson into a lineup because I think they looked for him a lot. I mean, and he got 120 yards receiving last week. And Arizona, if there's one thing we know, they can get beat downfield. And they're going to play fast, and you're going to see big plays in this game. So I like the idea of using Deshaun Jackson.
I'll throw it out there just in case you guys haven't. Just in case I don't see you guys between now and then. I'll ask you, Rody. One player, one shot, afternoon slate, one position, one offer upside because it's a 4-game slate. Allen Lazard or Deshaun Jackson.
Oh, I'll take Lazard.
This is your guy.
I want to take Lazard, just not because I like the player over. I love Desean Jackson. I played him. He's made me so much money on those deep balls. But on the other side of it, Lazard MVS is out, right? So Lazard should see massive uptick in work. I think the workload's a lot more for him.
And what about Lazard over Cobb?
Well, they keep talking about Cobb getting more involved or whatever the coaches are saying, but I think Lazard's a good younger guy that they should really try to work in a little bit.
What do you think, Bobby? Deshaun, Lazard, or Cobb? One position.
I would personally say Deshaun, but given the matchup, but I think that the other ones are fine as well.
Okay. What do you think of Henderson from the Rams?
I think he's a good sleeper play.
I got a ton of Henderson.
Yeah.
And I was even just talking about him. I was even talking about him in the afternoon slate. You got him in the main, huh?
The only thing to worry about him, just with the way the Rams run their offense, is that he has to have, he really has to get the scoring upside in his favor, which is a big if. The Rams have so many weapons, and they're more than happy to throw the ball near the goal line to Higbee. They have Kupp run all those little tiny routes that he's, become a big goal line target. You also have Robert Woods running around, who's going to get some, some sweep carries in those situations. So there's just a lot of things they can do offensively where it does hurt maybe his upside near the goal line. He has to sort of run good in that situation. But if he does, you could be looking at a guy with 25 fantasy points pretty easily, I think.
OX Couch asks, will I regret playing Fields in my big lineup on FanDuel? LOL. I don't know. I'll let you know at 4 o'clock.
I would, yes, but I'm not going to, I understand it. I'm intrigued by this kid's talent level, but I mean, if they're going to really I don't know what they're going to do. If they change it up this week and they've maybe had the week to game plan and change and, really suit his skills instead of having the Andy Dalton game plan, that you let him get out there and run some, RPOs and stuff like that. I think that there's a chance that he could have a big game one of these days. I just think there's so many other options and it's pretty easy to get in. There's enough cheap options on FanDuel. I don't need to save at quarterback as much.
You guys still high on Ayuk from the previous show? Yes, I think we talked about that. Rody responded to Zeke. Love Zeke. By the way, just so you know, I haven't followed up with you on this. I did go ahead and draft him number 1 in my in that season-long league. Remember we talked about this, and you're like, if he was available. So I've been riding him. I'm in there. So we'll see how that shakes out over the course of the season.
I'm lower on Zeke a little bit than you guys are, but I do think he's viable. I mean, that Carolina run defense looks pretty good actually, and he's splitting carries basically at this point. So just keep that in mind.
All right. Anything else? I mean, you want to? I know that Rhodey said he's got a lot of shit to do. So
I mean, I'm already hanging around here. You know, I'm just kind of tweaking a little bit. I do got to finish a bunch of builds on DK. FanDuel's pretty much done, but I'm just kind of messing around.
Okay.
One guy, K9 Bronco, did ask in the chat about Zeke on FanDuel. Yeah, I like him. I mean, he's one of my heavier guys over there. I mean, like, 19% out of 150 build, so 29 lineups.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Meanwhile, what happened to the freaking Yankees? It's like a legitimate sweat.
They just have to win.
Dude, but they can't win. They can't beat Tampa. Can't do it.
Even if they lose, they're still probably going to get in.
Probably.
So,
but now I'm going to have to go up to Boston for the play-in game.
Oh, well, really? Yeah, that's right. And how about I'm going to have to go to the Dodger one if they don't. I mean, they're one out. They got a chance still.
Dude, Bueller's a freaking lock today.
Yeah, but I mean, the Giants need to lose. They only lost.
No, but I'm just saying it's a DFS play. Bueller's a lock.
Oh, I didn't end up playing. I couldn't look today.
You know what? They're over like $200 for first place. They should be freaking ashamed of themselves. It's the last day of the freaking season. I don't care if it's football. The 15-game slate, the last game of the season, they're giving like $2 away for first place. Screw you, drafting, honestly.
Yeah, I know it's kind of ridiculous.
I mean, they're giving the same money away for NASCAR as they do every week.
It's annoying. I don't know why they did this like this. It's really it bothered me. Even last week, they didn't have very many good tournaments or anything.
Yep.
But yeah. So that's my main things. I'm sticking with the Chiefs. I want to be all over that one. Rhodey, I wanted to ask your thoughts real quick on that one. Like, what do you think about the playing? Like, is it too thin to really include Pringle or Hardman in your stacks? I just feel like that it makes sense to do if I'm looking for value because I need to get these guys in. Why don't I just throw one of those guys in and go for the hammer stack? Literally play 3 receivers with Mahomes.
No, I get you. I got one of my bigger lineups has Hardman in it too. So I like that Hardman, Kelsey, Mahomes stack. So
Pringle had 6 targets last week too, and a lot of air yards. So I think there's some opportunity there for him actually.
Pringle too, yeah,
yeah,
definitely. I've been high on that guy all season, so I'm waiting for him to explode too.
Yeah,
he's in my best ball
fantasy points out of him today, like he did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I would be happy with a 15 points from a 3K guy today because I am going to need it with the way that I'm trying to build.
Exactly.
Sadly.
I'm getting a little more hard one based on projections, but I definitely could use some Pringle. Oh, no, I got Pringle in more lineups, actually. I got him. Yeah, there we go. Pringle and Hardman. There we go. Popping up here. There we go.
Yeah. I don't understand how we're not supposed to rush through these things. Sorry to whoever that is that's complaining about us rushing through this. I don't know. I don't think we're rushing through anything. I
thought I was pretty deliberate.
I think you were very thorough, so I wouldn't.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, we're definitely not, in my mind, rushing. For those of you guys who do appreciate the show, please hit the like and thumbs up.
What else? No, seriously, what else you want me to go over? I mean, more than happy to. You know what I mean?
He can ask whatever questions he wants in the chats. We're not rushing over anything. We're talking about.
I don't think it's. I think it's a little late to go do deep diving into some of the matchup situations. You know what I mean? I mean, we're now in lineup build mode. You know, it's.
Yep.
I think.
And just as Rhodey always mentions, one thing you should be looking at doing just get your make your secondary stacks make sense. Like. It's so in the long run, it may not happen every week, but then that's why he doesn't. That's why when he asked the question sheets about the one-off receivers, me and Rhodey are the same on this, and I think that most good DFS players are. Like if the lineups where I'm going to use, Metcalf is where I'll play my sermons. You know what I mean? And just things like that. Just make sure you have the script that makes sense for these games. I really think it's an important thing that people sometimes forget about when they build. Occasionally it pays off. Mostly it's not going to pay off unless you want to really correlate those secondary stacks. Yeah,
I'm like that with respect when people ask you what quarterback you like. I don't do it that way. You know, if the quarterback fits the receivers, then I use the quarterback. You know, if I just don't go by position like that. I was just wondering, based on the way you built, what one-offs that are not from stacks are just showing up, or is every lineup perfect, or is every lineup, some part of some stack or run back? I mean, that could be too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the way I'm looking at it too. And even like little things, like if I'm playing Kyle Pitts, I want Gibson as my running back in that lineup. If I'm going to play Patterson and spend down at tight end, I'll use Thomas in those lineups. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Rather than just randomly filling them in. And it's one thing that optimizers really do help with. But if you get used to playing, you can do it pretty easily hand building as well. Anyway. All right. So anything else, guys, before we get out of here and finish building? Sounds like that's a resounding no. Am I as crazy to be as high on Chuba Hubbard as I am this week, Rhodey and Sheets? What are you guys' thoughts on Chuba Hubbard?
I got a lot of him.
Okay, Rhodey.
Yeah, he 17 lineups out of like 70 on DK and 41 on FanDuel. So yeah, I mean I got quite a bit of them. Like I'm not saying I'm fading that game. I'm just fading the stack more. Like I like Chubb, I like Zeke, I like Robbie Anderson. I'm getting pieces of the game. I'm just I'm like lowering my exposure to Moore. Like you said, he's got a tough matchup today, DJ Moore. So go with Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall, a little bit of Zeke. So like that. And I have no Schultz. Like get him on. I hate that tight end play. He went off big last week, obviously. But like I always thought it was Jarwin. I've been heavy on Jarwin. That cost me a ton of money by not having Jarwin because I had all the Zeke captain forever. I just had no Schultz that day. So I was like, oh, it's been frustrating. So I'm just going to stay away from that tight end battle over there at Dallas.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. For sure.
We know what Kelsey's going to do, guys. So
yes, we do.
Going to be loaded up, man. I got 59 lineups on 150 with Kelsey in it on FanDuel. So I'm telling you guys what I'm doing. So there you go.
Awesome. That's good stuff, man. We appreciate it. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
I really love the Najee and the Harrison Adams is a great secondary, like just a little
skinny,
combo stat. You know, like that's what I'm doing a ton of that. Yeah, I love that personally. And by the way, we didn't mention Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If we're going to be all over this Chiefs game, I do think if you're playing Hurts and stuff, you want to get some exposure to him as well. And I have him a little below the other guys just in terms of expected production. But if I really think the Chiefs are going to score 50 points, which I really think there's a great chance that they do, that they score. I mean, maybe not 50, maybe they score over in the 40s or whatever. But I think you're just going to have so much upside for everybody through that roster, and I don't think there's any Chief player that's viable that I don't have more than 10% of. I just hope Blake Bell doesn't catch 2 touchdowns. One other one, Rhodey, Miles Sanders as a run back. I mean, look, if you're playing 40% of Chiefs game like I am, or if somebody is, wouldn't you want to get heavy on the Miles Sanders exposure?
Yeah, I did mention him a second ago, like a little bit ago. Like I like Smith's my bigger run back, but like I've been getting to more like Miles Sanders because I've been wanting some of these bigger other receivers, and they take up too many spots if I get a Smith in there and Tyreek Hill, and then I'm running on a receiver spots. So I don't mind playing Sanders because running back I'm kind of spreading it out a little bit. So I do like the Sanders play.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think he's in one of my high dollars too. So
yeah,
I like that.
And I think that. So I mean, just real quick, I guess just some ownerships. I mean, like I mentioned that I'm mostly on that one. I do have 10% in my Stafford. My lineups are Stafford stacks. A little higher than actually, maybe closer to 15% for Arizona stacks. And then obviously with the Rams run backs. And I have 5% Rodgers, 38% Mahomes, 5% Dak, 8% Heineke, and the Washington stack. Those are some of just the general things that I'm doing. And then I did throw in a cup like a Lamar stack. So I got like 3% of Lamar stacks, and, 2% of Russell Wilson stacks, little things like that. And the big ones I wanted to spread out a little bit. All right. Rhodey, so you one last thing about paying down at receiver. How much are you in general? Like, what percentage of your lineups do you think have you paid down at receiver?
Probably not a lot.
You don't have the Westbrook Hines or Chester Rogers?
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, I can't say I don't have any of them. I got a little bit of them. I'm kind of sprinkled them in a little bit more. I'm trying to cap them a little bit, but yeah, the Westbrook I do like a little bit more on DK play. I might have like 10 lineups with those type of guys in them out of all of the lineups I'm building. Not a lot in the single entry or 3-entry max like the Wildcat and stuff. I'm trying to have a better balanced build type of structure, I think.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense to me. All right. Anything else, guys, before we jump?
No, I think we're pretty good. You have any takes on the showdown slate before you get out of here?
I haven't thought about it.
Okay.
I don't even know. Oh, it's Brady, right? It's Brady and the Pats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good one later to do. I don't know if Bobby's around, but
that game, I think
we could do like a live maybe before it. I don't know, maybe do a DFS sweat show for if anybody's sweating anything.
Yeah, any of you guys have a sweat, we'll jump on and talk about your lineups, and hopefully you guys will take it down. What's up, Brooklyn Juice? Curtis Samuel, go back to that. I think you don't want to be crazy with it, but I do have some of it. Now, I will say where I'm playing Curtis Samuel, I'm double spending down at wide receiver because I actually prefer Westbrook. But I do have a little bit of Samuel in relation to that game. It sort of lends itself with the Heineke stack to play Samuel. You can actually you could play all those guys. You could play Samuel. That game, there's a chance that game goes completely nuts. It could dud, but there's a chance that game goes really, really nuts, and you have a lot of low-owned options that you can go heavy on. I'm heavy on Pitts. I'm heavy on Patterson. I'm heavy on Ridley. I'm heavy on McLaurin. And then I will include Samuel in the game stacks. That's my Samuel take.
Yeah. I have a little bit of them too. I cap that guy, but I really like that game. I got a lot of McLaurin and Gibson and Pitts and Ridley. Ridley's pretty high exposure of DK. He might be my most owned receiver, him, Adams, and Woods. So pretty heavy.
That's what I've made my little notes from our show. Or I have Ridley at like 15%, but I want to get him up to like closer to 25. But Sermon, Ayuk, Davis, not Davis. That's not right. Patterson and Ridley are guys I want to get more exposure to.
Man, you guys are going to keep chasing the Patterson, I think.
What are you chasing? He put up 17 fantasy points last week.
I know.
He could have put up 35. I mean, he was right there. He had a chance to do it receiving.
One of these days, he might. Hopefully,
he's done it 2 weeks in a row. He's done it 2 weeks in a row.
It keeps giving me a little bit of them.
I'm telling you right now.
I'm on there. Unfortunately, I'm just on the other side. I'm waiting for Davis to take over there, and you guys are waiting for Patterson.
Right. Well, we're not waiting for Patterson. He's doing it. He's getting 14 catches, 7 targets, and seven rushes. Basically, is his thing.
The answer is probably they both bust. But
I'd like to see
they probably
DFS local facts.
It's Ridley and Pitts. That's who I got all the other guys on.
Right.
So that's what I want.
Right.
I do think there's an argument to be made as a potential as a pay down to potentially consider Quez Watkins. If you're making that in those game stacks, maybe you play Watkins and Smith, and then you play 2 Chiefs on the run back, Kelsey and Edwards-Helaire or something like that. I do think that's viable. Any interest at all? Has anybody talked about? I don't understand why no one's thinking about Watkins against the defense that's just been bleeding to every receiver. He's going to have some chances today. Yeah, I know he's a third receiver, whatever, but like if we're considering guys like Marshall at a higher price and Deshawn Jackson at a higher price, which I am, not everybody is, KJ Osborne, I think he's interesting, right? Anybody?
KJ Osborne?
Yeah. No, Quez Watkins in game stacks for Philly.
Oh, Quez Watkins. Oh, yeah, I'm getting a little bit of them just because I'm playing a lot of Hurts. I'm getting a lot of Hurts, which we talked about that game, guys. I'm not just on the Mahomes side. I'm also on the Hurts side. I don't think I said it totally, but I mean, I'm getting some Hurts stacks with Smith or with Watkins or with Riga a little bit, kind of mix and matching with those guys.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, here's the last thing before we leave. Here's what I'm looking at my DraftKings lineups. I don't have any. I don't think. Is there anybody that you have more, aside for defenses, that you have more than 10% of that we have not mentioned at all?
Good question.
I don't have anybody.
Probably. I just don't know who it would be. We talked about Smith. I have a lot of Smith, Rieger, Cooper Kupp. We talked about Rondale Moore. I have 24% Rondale Moore. That's a big one.
I got a lot of Rondale Moore too. Yeah.
I got one. I got a 16%. I got 16% Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh, that's another one. I got 11%. My bad. Yeah.
Okay.
I can get behind that one for
sure.
You
can talk about Hopkins in my Murray stack. I got a little of him.
Yeah, I actually ended up coming a little bit off of the Hopkins thing on the stacks because I was having trouble with the pricing. I do have some Hopkins with Murray, but that's a really if that pays off, I might have to do it in one of my medium-ish buy-ins because that could be a really, really, really big play. No one is going to play him. He's going to be the lowest owned of all the receivers at the top, in my opinion.
That's like the put it in the universe play.
Put it out there in the universe, exactly. All right, guys. Well, good luck to you, Rody, Sheets, everybody at True DFS, guys. Thanks so much for hanging in there with us, and I think that's pretty much it, right, Sheets or Rody? Anything else?
Yeah, I got
Just
nothing.
scanning one more time for a 10%. Now I got 9% Cole Beasley. He doesn't count. And I guess we are good. Good luck, everybody, and let's get it.
Let's get it.
We'll get it.